Coming up on Global Business, China cuts lending rate for the first time in 10 months to boost economy. New bank loans increase in May. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas seeks increased economic cooperation with China during a state visit to Beijing. And U.S. consumer inflation rose 4% year-on-year in May, providing insight on the Federal Reserve's upcoming rate decision announcement on Wednesday. From CGTN headquarters in Beijing, this is Global Business. I'm Lily Lu. We begin with some financial news from China, where the latest data from the People's Bank of China suggests that the country's credit market is on the rebound. In the month of May, new yuan loans increased to over 1.3 trillion yuan, or around 190 million US dollars, nearly doubling the amount from the previous month. Additionally, the newly added social financing metric, which tracks funding provided by the financial system to the real economy, also rebounded in May. Moreover, the brand M2 money supply, which includes cash deposits and other short-term savings vehicles, saw year-on-year growth of 11.6% in May, and this was the first time this year that the M2 growth has dipped below 12%. China's central bank cut a short-term rate on Tuesday to boost market expectations. The People's Bank of China lowered the 7-day reverse repo rate to 1.9% from 2%. That is the first such move in 10 months. The short-term rate is paid by the commercial banks on loans from central bank. Tuesday's cut is to keep liquidity reasonable and ample in the banking system, according to the central bank. Analysts believe that the PBOC move will further lower the financing costs for enterprises. It will also help to create a prudent monetary and financial environment for economic recovery. Now let's get some discussions on the recent rate cut and the Chinese economy. We are now joined by Mr. Chu Qiang online, who is a research fellow at the Beijing Foreign Studies University. Mr. Chu, how do you think does the recent credit rate cut act as a cushion for the LPR decrease?
Yes, we've been seeing that the loan numbers currently have some structural change. If you noticed, even though the sheer amount has been slowing down, but one good sign is that the household leverage started to go up, and this has been a positive change for many months to come. So we've been seeing that when the turnover has been shrinking, but the structure are changing, that shows the sentiment for the borrowing market has been changing, which means people now have formed a stable expectation in the future. So people say, okay, this is the situation, and I already formed my own cash flow, and I can accept the current market condition, and then I started to borrow and plan for the longer term. So we can see this as a potential turning point, and in this case, I think the central bank very wisely lowered a little bit on this rate, even though not too much, it's just 10 base points. But I think it's helping the whole market to solidify the whole sentiment. I think it's a good start.
Okay, and also in your opinion, what is the outlook for monetary policy moving forward? How long do you think this low rate cycle will last?
Well, first of all, I don't think it is a low rate cycle. If you take a look at the major economists, benchmark rate or the Federal Reserve rate or central bank rate, you will find the Chinese rate is basically very similar to USA, to the Australia Federal Bank, and also to Canada and etc. So I think currently for China, we're still in a very high level of the interest rate, considering China's CPI is very, very low comparing to their counterparts. So China still have a very, very large leeway to lower the interest rate further to support the real economy. But also, I think currently the Chinese problem is not about currency. It's not about the interest rate market, because right now we still need to form the expectation and also reverse the structure of the real economy. So I think we just make some delicate move on the interest rate. That's going to be fine enough. We don't need to move hugely on the interest rate, because also we need to think about the exchange rate market in the future. We do not want to form expectations that Chinese renminbi is going to depreciate that lot or quickly.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for today. That's Mr. Chu Qiang, Research Fellow at the Beijing Foreign Studies University. Now let's take a look at some other business headlines that we're tracking at this hour. The National Development and Reform Commission has introduced 22 measures aimed at reducing costs for businesses in 2023. These measures include exempting and reducing value-added tax for some firms, as well as lowering loan interest rates. And additionally, China's customs has launched 16 measures to optimize the business environment and promote cross-border trade. In the meantime, China is urging the U.S. to refrain from politicizing economic issues and abusing its entity list to suppress Chinese firms. The Biden administration added 31 Chinese entities to an export control list that restricts their access to U.S. technologies. The move prompts China's foreign ministry to state that necessary measures will be taken to protect the legitimate rights of the Chinese enterprises. Still to come here on Global Business. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas seeks increased economic cooperation with China during a state visit to Beijing.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Chinese Premier Li Qiang has met with Honduran President Xiomara Castro in Beijing. The two governments have signed a memorandum of understanding on the Belt and Road Initiative. They aim at strengthening cooperation in various fields, including economic links, infrastructure, and people-to-people exchanges. And China has approved imports of fresh bananas and coffee beans from Honduras. Chinese and Honduran trade relations have been thriving even before diplomatic ties were established. CGTN's Alastair Baverstock reports from Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
While on her state visit this week, Honduras' president is aiming to put together strong trade deals for her country.
Xiomara Castro is the first Honduran president to make a state visit to China. She will hope to return here to Tegucigalpa with progress towards a cross-Pacific free trade deal, opening up key export markets for her Central American nation.
Her government has ensured the president will be putting pen to paper on initial trade agreements during the visit, ahead of negotiations over a broader deal.
We have struck deals which are ready to be signed on exports of coffee, bananas, cacao, melon and shrimp. The idea is to strengthen our trade and business ties in order to begin opening export markets in China.
As for Chinese imports, the Honduran government hopes to improve business between the two nations.
Today there are 300 Chinese companies established in Honduras, and Chinese imports arrive here every day. So what will change? We hope it will no longer be individual initiative that brings business here, but rather, with the backing of both countries' governments, trade can flow more smoothly.
For Hazel Lopez, the sales director of a company that imports China's Chang'an motor vehicles, that would be a huge boost to their business.
It would be a big help to us. Firstly, because it would significantly reduce our import times. Cars often sit in customs for weeks while they work out the duties. Secondly, it would make our prices much more competitive, as the import taxes are quite high at the moment.
For trade negotiators, it will be about striking a deal that will benefit the majority.
Honduras has signed free trade deals in the past which benefited only a small part of our population, while poverty and inequality worsened. China is an economic power which can help, but we need that development to benefit the country as a whole.
As economic ties grow across the Pacific, the hope here is that this Central American country will benefit as a whole. Alastair Baverstock, CGTN, Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is in Beijing for a 4-day state visit from June the 13th to 16th. In the meantime, Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Qin Gang has met with his Palestinian counterpart Riyad al-Maliki in Beijing on Tuesday afternoon. President Abbas is the first Arab head of state hosted by China this year. His visit comes as the two countries mark 35 years of diplomatic relations. Chinese Foreign Ministry has called President Abbas an old and good friend of the Chinese people and says the visit speaks volumes about the high level of friendly relations. Now, as we wait for more updates on Palestinian president's visit to China, let's take a closer look at the economic relations between the two sides. Bilateral trade between China and Palestine has been growing at a double-digit rate since 2019, following the signing of their first free trade agreement in the previous year. At present, the trade is largely one-sided, with China exporting to Palestine. In the meantime, however, China has expressed its commitment to supporting the development of Palestine's industries, including through investments in solar power plants, technology parks, and other projects. As of the end of last year, the two countries has signed a memorandum of understanding for the Belt and Road Initiative aimed at enhancing infrastructure cooperation. And now for more insights on China-Palestine economic relations, we're now joined by our guest, Dimitri Diliani, spokesperson of the Democratic Reformist faction within Fatah. Great to have you on the show, sir. So in year 2022, China-Palestine trade grew by 23%. What do you anticipate from the President Mahmoud Abbas' visit to China in terms of further bolstering economic ties?
Thanks for having me. For the increase in the economic cooperation in 2022 was mainly due to trade that is in the favor of China. China being the second largest world economy, and us as Palestinians, we do have a large amount of imports coming from China. I believe that President Abbas at this moment is working through his visit to China to, one, on the political level, which is his highest priority, to desperation in that level. Second, to also add other elements of economic cooperation other than trade, which is in this case direct investments in the fields, specifically in the fields of infrastructure in the West Bank, especially in the West Bank. Now, I believe that China has historically, even though being greatly supportive politically to the Palestinian cause, and great partner for us, even though we are extremely small partner for China, I believe we look forward to having direct Chinese investments in the West Bank. I believe that the political climate is suitable as well.
And also, aside from exporting agricultural goods to China, what other infrastructure projects have China and Palestine collaborated on? And where do you see this bilateral cooperation heading in the future?
I believe that the cooperation is heading more into direct investments in industrial zones, energy projects, infrastructure being the main one. Our deteriorating infrastructure, lack of industrial development at this period, for many reasons, among them the Israeli direct occupation and control over our borders. I believe that Chinese intervention, along with its political weight and economic might be a really good partner for this upcoming period, and for us, in order for us to uplift our economic situation and move forward with our economy that has been suffocated by the Israeli occupation.
And also, how does China's support for Palestine's economic development contribute to the region's stability and progress?
I think in terms of financial aid, the Chinese financial aid is not among the top 10 or even 15 direct foreign financial aid to the Palestinian Authority. But in terms of its political weight, it is there has been a poll actually that came out yesterday favoring, popularly favoring China's intervention in the any political process as a mediator over the intervention, the historic intervention of the United States of America. We view US of A as a biased mediator, and we look forward for a bigger role in China. And I believe that the meeting between President Xi and the Arab leaders in the Riyadh summit last December has played a great role in encouraging today's visit of President Abbas, economic cooperation, and in the larger sphere, the political intervention and political role that we look forward for China to play in the region vis-a-vis our conflict with the Israeli state occupation.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for your insights. That's Mr. Dimitri Deliani, spokesperson of the Democratic Reformist faction within Fatah. And still to come here on Global Business. U.S. consumer inflation rose by 4% year-on-year in May, and we see how this provides insight on the Federal Reserve's upcoming rate decision announcement on Wednesday.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business, only on CGTN.
Let's get an update on latest economic data out of the United States. The U.S. Consumer Price Index rose by 4% on a yearly basis in the month of May, with a monthly increase of 0.1%. Now, this recent development could provide insight into the Federal Reserve's upcoming rate decision announcement, which is expected this Wednesday. Now, to provide us with more information on the U.S. economy and the inflation situation, we now turn to our correspondent John Terrett, who joins us live from New York. So, John, hi there. What do the numbers tell us?
Hi there. Lily Lou, how are you? Welcome to New York. It's a lovely sunny day today. The smoke is gone and the news about inflation is pretty good. The thing about CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is the inflation Americans pay month over month and year over year in stores and at gas stations, is it has become the key piece of economic data. Used to be the monthly jobs report, but since COVID came along and since inflation kicked in 18 months ago, CPI is way more important than that. And as you rightly say, it's always closely watched, but never more so than today, because the central bank is beginning a two-day meeting right now in Washington, D.C., when they must decide what to do about interest rates. And that will come at 18 hours GMT on Wednesday, which is the middle of the night for people watching in Asia. And Wall Street is very optimistic that they will pause. After 14 months of hiking interest rates, the feeling is it's time to give it a rest for a bit and see what happens. So this inflation data is very important to what happens in the next 24 hours. So what was the data? Well, I've got copious notes here, but in simple terms, it was lower for the 11th month in a row, came in cooler than expected, so that's very good. Month on month, as you said, Lily Lou, it was up 0.1%, but we've been expecting it to be up 0.2, so that's good. Year on year, it now stands at 4%, but it was 4.9% back in April, so that's very good. Now, this is where it gets a bit sticky. Take out food and energy and you get the core inflation, and that was up 0.4% in May, and it stood at 5.3%, which is exactly where we thought it would be year on year. So what that means is that the consumer here is still a little bit under pressure. But I think the way to interpret these figures is that whatever the central bank is going to do at 18 hours GMT on Wednesday, middle of the night in Asia, I don't think they're going to change their mind between now and then. I think this is a pretty good report. It's more or less exactly where we thought it would be, and nothing really changes. The Dow is up 15 points, the Nasdaq 76, the S&P 500 by 9 points. Of course, the S&P is out of bear market territory as of last week. And what the bank will have to weigh up is very strong jobs growth, very solid consumer spending still. The stocks out of bear market territory, as I just said. On the other hand, consumer sentiment's at a 6-month low. Inflation is still elevated, as I've just explained. Recession is still out there. People keep talking about it. It never seems to arrive, but it's very much on the agenda. And of course, we're still worried about the banks here. That issue, I don't think, has completely gone away and may come back towards the end of the year. But I do think that basically we have a situation now where the theory is they'll pause tomorrow, and if they need to, they can raise again when they meet on the 25th and 26th of July. That's my interpretation. Lily Liu.
Great insights. Thank you so much, John Terrett in New York. Let's move on to some other business news that we're tracking at the hour from around the world. Wage growth in the UK saw a significant increase, with annual growth in wages excluding business rising to 7.2% in the 3 months to April. This raises expectations that the Bank of England will further increase interest rates to ease inflation. And the ZU Economic Research Institute reported an unexpected improvement in German investor morale in June, although export-focused sectors continue to face hurdles from a weak global economy. And Spain's official figures show that a decrease in national consumer prices, with a rise of 3.2% in the 12 months through May, down from a 4.1% increase during that period through April. China's rural modernization effort is leveraging advanced technologies in unexpected ways. For instance, Zhejiang Province has set a goal of establishing 100 smart farms by year 2027. Our reporter Zhang Shixuan visited a smart pig farm to get insights into this operation.
Pork has long been a major part of Chinese diet, and so is an important component in China's consumer price index. But when you think about where it all comes from, the pig farms, what comes to mind? Somewhere smelly, noisy, or piled up with feed. Today, we're going to break all those stereotypes with a visit to this international pig farm in Jinhua, Zhejiang Province. With a black and white coat, this breed of pig is appropriately named panda pig. Each of them lives in a single enclosure. A nursery, the piglets seem excited about their first look at the world. Wow, a confinement center for mother pigs and their piglets. The species is as precious as its name and its high global reputation. It's the only Chinese pork specialty that has given its own geographical indication that is recognized by both China and Europe. So standardizing the breeding and production process is a priority. And the introduction of 5G technology and autonomous systems are now a major part of that.
Previously, large-scale farming had a big shortcoming in that if there was a serious outbreak of swine fever, a traditional pig farm would face an immense disaster. But now, through smart breeding on a 5G farm, we can conduct real-time monitoring of each pig's health. We also have an automatic feeding system. The pipes you see here are all automatic feed lines. They supply feed to the troughs at fixed times.
Food security has always been high on the agenda of the Chinese government, which has incorporated its food security strategy into the outline of the 14th five-year plan and a long-range objective through the year 2035. As you can see here, all pigs are carefully protected, with no outside visitors allowed to enter into the farm. Breeders inside all work in a closed loop. While traditionally a pig farm this size could easily require dozens of people to care for the breed, there are just 3 staff working here. That has been a big change for Xu Xiaochen, a pig breeder for more than 20 years.
I never thought that you could breed pigs this way. In the past, everything was done by hand, sweeping up the pig manure and feeding. Or if a sow was about to give birth, you had to wait there with it for a long time. But now, with the new system, we can just see its condition on a screen, which is more convenient.
The 10,000 square meter smart farm can now produce 5,000 or 6,000 pigs a year. The smart agriculture approach is already proving its commercial value. The farm has opened 5 retail stores in the Jinhua city, that are now serving a total of more than 5,000 customers on an average day. And the stores are also kept busy putting together gift packages ready for delivery to other cities around the Yangtze River Delta region.
We've sold up to several hundred packages of sausages a day. Our daily sales revenue can hit as much as 50,000 to 60,000 yuan. The gift boxes are really popular among customers in Shanghai and Hangzhou.
And the smart farm has turned out to be so attractive that it's even been boosting tourism in the area. With a pig-themed park surrounding the farm that has received more than 1.2 million visitors since opening 2 years ago. The new technologies and ideas have turned the once traditional laborious farm industry into a new attraction providing employment in the service sector.
All our service employees are from nearby villages, and our pork processing factory has also provided nearby employment. We have nearly 200 people here. Before, they would have had to look for a job far from home, but now they can get work nearby. We offer standard salaries with social insurance and a housing fund.
The Smart Pig Farm has been recognized by the Zhejiang provincial government as one of the first of the future farms in the province. A realization of planning that started in 2012, when the national government included the development of smart agriculture into its #1 central policy document for the year. Zhang Shixuan, ICS for CGTN, Jinhua, Zhejiang Province.
And with that, I'm closing out this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. Thanks for being with us. I'm Lily Lu in Beijing. Till next time, bye for now.